I want to start this video differently. Not with a price prediction, not with a chart, not with another XRP is about to explode headline. I want to start with honesty. Because if you've been in the XRP space long enough, you probably feel what I'm feeling right now. Exhaustion. I'm tired of the hype. I'm tired of the gaslighting. I'm tired of people telling you that if you don't believe XRP is going to $10,000 next week, you don't get it. And I'm especially tired of the emotional manipulation that's crept into this space. So today, this isn't a hype video. This isn't a bearish video either. This is me cutting through the noise and telling you what actually matters about XRP and what doesn't, from someone who's been watching this market long enough to recognize the patterns. If you're here for moon math, you're probably going to hate this video. If you're here because you want clarity instead of comfort, this one's for you. Now let me say this clearly before anyone twists my words. I'm not anti-XRP. I'm anti-bullshit. And those are two very different things. Here's the uncomfortable truth most XRP influencers won't say out loud. The old XRP hype playbook doesn't work anymore. It used to be big announcement, community euphoria, price spike, new believers. Now it's big announcement, endless Twitter threads, price does nothing, community fights itself. And instead of admitting that reality, a lot of people are trying to gaslight you. They tell you you're early. You don't understand institutions. You'll regret doubting when it finally happens. But here's the thing. Markets don't care about how badly you want something to be true. And narratives don't move price if capital isn't following. XRP isn't failing because it's useless. It's stalling because it's transitioning. And transitions are boring. They're quiet. They're uncomfortable. That's why hype addicts can't survive them. Let's talk about something most people avoid. Gaslighting in crypto doesn't look like lying outright. It looks like emotional framing. If price goes down, you're told, "That's good. Weak hands are leaving." If price goes sideways, you're told, "That's accumulation." If nothing happens for months, you're told, "That's because it's being suppressed." See the pattern? Every outcome is reframed as bullish. That's not analysis. That's belief protection. And belief protection is dangerous because it stops you from asking the right questions. Real investing isn't about defending a narrative. It's about stress testing it. And here's the stress test most XRP hype fails. If XRP really is becoming infrastructure, then price behavior will look different than speculative assets. Slower, heavier, less reactive. And that's exactly what we're seeing, whether people like it or not. Let's reset the conversation. What doesn't matter? Viral tweets, influencer conviction, my source says, imaginary timelines. What does matter? Who is accumulating? Under what structure? Through what instruments? And with what constraints? The XRP today is not being treated like a meme coin. It's not even being treated like a growth token. It's being treated like a risk-managed exposure. That's why you see ETF demand without explosive price movement. That's why you see whales positioning without social hype. That's why price feels frustrating. Because this phase isn't designed for retail excitement. It's designed for capital placement. And capital placement is quiet by design. Here's another thing people misunderstand badly. ETF inflows do not equal instant price explosions. ETFs are mechanical. They're process-driven. They rebalance, allocate, and absorb quietly. When you see steady ETF demand with flat price, that's not failure. That's controlled accumulation. Institutions don't chase green candles. They build positions where volatility is low and attention is gone. Retail sees boredom and leaves. Capital sees stability and steps in. That's how it's always worked. If XRP were spiking wildly while ETFs were building exposure, that would actually be a red flag. Another hard truth: ETFs are not price-pumping machines. They are allocation vehicles. ETF capital is slow, regulated, rebalanced, and boring. It doesn't chase. It doesn't panic. It doesn't care about your emotions. When ETF demand comes in, it often absorbs supply instead of chasing price. That's why price can stay flat while ownership quietly changes. And that's exactly what's happening with XRP. You're watching a transfer of influence from emotional retail to process-driven capital. That doesn't feel good in the moment, but it's how markets mature. Here's what actually worries me more than price: people misunderstanding why they hold XRP. If you hold XRP because you think it's guaranteed, it owes you upside, it must explode because it's important, you're going to get emotionally wrecked. Because infrastructure assets don't move on hope. They move on usage, integration, and policy alignment. That doesn't mean XRP can't go higher. It means the path won't look like crypto Twitter fantasies. And the people screaming the loudest about price are often the least prepared for reality. I'll be honest with you. What frustrates me isn't skepticism. Skepticism is healthy. What frustrates me is false certainty. People talking like they know what XRP will do. People shaming others for asking questions. People turning a financial asset into an identity. That's not investing. That's coping. And if you need constant reassurance, you're probably overexposed, emotionally or financially. Real conviction doesn't need daily validation. Let me tell you something most people don't want to hear. Markets don't move when everyone is watching. They move when most people stop caring. Silence isn't absence. It's often preparation. XRP has spent years being loud because of lawsuits, drama, and controversy. Now it's quieter, and that makes people uncomfortable. But quiet periods are when infrastructure integrates, products get approved, risk models get updated, capital gets positioned. Price follows last. Always has. So let me leave you with the only question worth asking. Not, when will XRP moon? But, what role does XRP realistically play in the financial system if adoption continues? If you can answer that without hype, you don't need reassurance videos. You don't need cult narratives. You don't need gaslighting. You can sit comfortably in uncertainty. And that's where real investors live. Reason 17. BlackRock, Fidelity, others are coming. Institutions move slowly, then all at once. They don't rush. They position. ETF infrastructure is just the beginning. Reason 18. Most people still don't own XRP. Ask strangers. Almost nobody holds XRP. That's what early looks like, not viral excitement. Let me be clear. I'm not here to tell you XRP is guaranteed to change your life. Anyone who speaks in guarantees in this market is lying to you or themselves. What I will say is this: XRP doesn't need hype to work. It needs time, integration, and patience. If those come together, price follows naturally. If they don't, no amount of hopium videos will save it. And pretending otherwise is disrespectful to your intelligence. Here's my honest advice: not financial, just human. Stop consuming content that makes you feel afraid to think, shames you for questioning promises, timelines they can't prove. Start focusing on structure, regulation, adoption, metrics, your own risk tolerance. Hold XRP if it fits your strategy, not someone else's fantasy. And if you decide to exit or reduce, that doesn't make you weak. It makes you responsible. I didn't make this video to pump XRP. I made it because I'm exhausted watching people get emotionally manipulated. XRP doesn't need saviors. It needs rational holders. If you can sit through boredom, uncertainty, and slow progress without losing your mind, you'll be fine. If you need constant reassurance, hype, and validation, this asset will break you. That's the truth no one wants to say. And that's exactly why I said it.